So, Nicky, here we are, the start of a brand new jump season, 21-22. Let's just first of all talk about Shishkin. We've seen him this morning, unbeaten. How's he summered?
Remarkably well, because he's grown. I think the first time I went to see him in the field after he'd been out about 3 weeks, I got the wrong horse. Actually, I thought it was Altior. Only because he's just grown into a bigger, stronger model altogether. It's extraordinary. I mean, he's just, you wouldn't know. There was two of them, him and Chantry House, they're both the same. I never saw horses grow like it. I mean, they all had a good summer. So he seems very well. We did have to stop and just do a little, it was just a bit suspicious at the end, and then we were just listening to him earlier on when we started cantering, and it seemed that we'd better just attend to a little breathing problem, just to, well, there was no point in waiting, because if you've got to run, you know, if you've got to run in and it's gone wrong, then you'd have to go and operate mid-season, which would, it doesn't take long, but it was just easier to get it done. So he has been attended to, which is good, and we're sort of back on track for the Tingle Creek.
You said he's grown a lot over the summer. Does it take a little bit more hard work to get him fit and to get that sort of extra?
I don't think so. I mean, I was going to say he's a very clean-winded horse, and then I've told you that actually there was something wrong with his wind. Normally he is a clean-winded horse, and he was pretty easy to get ready. So, I mean, from that point of view, all's good. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a very robust horse last year, but he certainly is now, and he's mighty size.
And we've obviously seen, you know, your Sprinter Sacras and your Altiors. Will it be a sort of similar tried and trusted path with Shishkin and with the sort of culminating at the festival?
Well, I think it has to be. I mean, we all get accused now of going festival. It's not us that says festival. It's out of the 3-year-old that won at Plumpton the other day, and the headline goes into 33-1 for the Triumph Hurdle. Well, he's about as far away as the Triumph Hurdle as I am to an Olympic athlete. Obviously, for a horse like Shishkin, the goal is the champion chase. I mean, any clown could tell you that. There are lots of things to do on the way, but the one race you're preparing for is, like last year it was the Arkle, and this year it will be the champion chase. And it's not because we've all got Cheltenham fever, it's just the obvious thing to do.
So you'd be like to kick off in the Tingle Creek, or would you be looking at perhaps a
No, I'd start the Tingle Creek, I would think. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Chantry House, one of your 2 festival winners this year. You sort of kept it up for England and the Ireland, sort of wiping the floor with us.
Well, it was hard work.
Yeah, but he's a horse who's perhaps not flashy in his races, but he gets the job done, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He was very good all last year. He's run at Cheltenham earlier on. He jumped appallingly, and we had a back problem with him. And he was amazing because we did some back surgery on him. He had kissing spines, and our own vets here did some back surgery on him. And from the day of surgery to when he came back and won at Wetherby was exactly 8 weeks. So, you know, that's a very quick turnaround. I had to do it that way, and I had to find somewhere halfway between surgery and Cheltenham to get a run into him. And it turned out that Wetherby was the place to go. So, no, he did really well. And he went into Cheltenham in great form. The nice thing was that he was able to, both of them went on and followed up at Aintree. We tried him over a bit further, and he got it well, which was no great surprise. I think if you've been 2-5 around Cheltenham, you're pretty likely to get 3 miles around Aintree. So that was just really to confirm that he would stay, and therefore give us the options that we sort of, you know, you can start anywhere really. You can start over 2.5 or 3.
So where are you looking at perhaps starting?
At the moment, I'd be looking at Sandown. Well, in fact, that is our plan at the moment, to start in the, I think it's the Future Stars. Actually, I happen to know that it's actually this year, it's going to be John O'Leary, who was a great golfer and a great friend, and we're having there's a memorial race for him on the day, and with one of his colleagues on the professional tour, Pip Elson, we're doing a lunch and a sort of really a sort of say goodbye to John because he sadly died during COVID and nobody could be there. So we're doing a thing that day, and actually that's going to be the John O'Leary Memorial Future Stars Champion Intermediate.
But it's a race that you've also had, you've used as a stepping
Well, I
stone
think Pim
too.
won it last year, actually, which was slightly surprising, but Santini won it, not very impressively. And yeah, we've got quite a few. It's an obvious sort of race for the second season novices just to get their eye in.
And Chantry House has always sort of looked classy, you know, from the get-go, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, he has. I mean, yes, he's always been very good. He was very good over hurdles. I mean, to be fair, he should have run in the... He wouldn't have won the 2.5 mile novice hurdle the year before, but it was only JP looked if he had a smarter horse in Brother John. And so Chantry House ran in the Supreme, ran very well. You know, but 2 miles, that was never going to be far enough for him. Envoy Allen won the 2.5, and we wouldn't have beaten Envoy Allen, but I would have imagined he probably would have been second. You know, I would say he ran in the Supreme, but that was always going to be too short for him. So, having said that, Shishkin won it anyway, so it didn't make any difference.
So you've got Chantry House obviously marking on his second season over fences, a horse who's more experienced over the large obstacles is Champ, of course, who carries the same colours of JP McManus. And he starts this season with a sort of slightly different profile because he was ultimately very disappointing in the Gold Cup, but I'm sure you've got an explanation for that.
We certainly have. Again, go back to back surgery, and actually his issue with his back goes back a long time. And Ger Kelly, who does a lot of JP's veterinary work and comes over here regularly, although he hasn't been able to do this last season due to COVID, he always said that he operated on his back 2.5 years ago. He said that I know there is more that I need to get out of there. And things had gone, we'd got behind, but we came back at Newbury and ran him in the Game Spirit instead of the Denman. And that was really on purpose, so we technically didn't get such a hard race. And he went round Newbury, and you've never seen a horse jump so well. I've never seen him jump so well. It was a fantastic performance. He jumped brilliantly. And, you know, you'd say it was a good Gold Cup trial. But I think he put so much into it that day that I think he'd actually had sort of damaged his back again. It showed that his back was very good going into Newbury, but it didn't do him any good. And he went to the first fence in the Gold Cup and, I mean, just flopped over it. Did the same in the second, third, and pulled him up. And, I mean, that was purely back. And now he's had a new form of back surgery, and Ger has removed, I think it was apparently a considerable, I mean, he even described it as a wedge from his back. All I can say is at the moment we're going great. We'll keep schooling down to a bare minimum, to be honest with you. I think the less jumping he does, the better. He's got a lot of fences to jump on the racecourse, so we won't be using them up at home. At the moment, all is going really well. He looks superb, and I haven't schooled him yet, and I don't intend to school him for some time yet. So we'll just have to see. I'm hoping the Betfair is the Betfair is the project. I mean, JP said, well, you can run the two of them if you want to, but I think Chantry would be better to go to Sandown and Champ go to the Betfair. The one issue you have with Champ, you've got to bear in mind he has to go left-handed. So the King George's of no use to him. Then you've got to work out where you go in the meantime. But, you know, we've always said he has the potential to be a Gold Cup horse, and he has Gold Cup form, if you like. So we've just got to make sure that everything goes right. I say, I've never seen a horse look so well in my life.
Well, I suppose if you look back at that RSA win, I mean, we know, and his wins there before, we know that he handles the track.
Exactly.
I mean, my only question would be to you is, when you get horses like that who've had problems with their back, and it can be with breathing and wind as well, does it sometimes affect them mentally? perhaps when it wouldn't physically, but because they feel it may hurt when they're jumping fences. That's something you'd have to think
I
about.
agree. Well, you could say, therefore, do lots and lots and loads of jumping, but we're actually of the mind that the less jumping he does, the safer it is for his back point of view. Let's see how he gets on when we do start schooling. It took him a fair bit of time to get his technique right, but one always felt the original problem was always still there, and it was probably just preventing him from being a really, really good jumper. We had to work quite hard with it, so we had to do a lot of jumping.
Let's stick with the chasers. Mr. Fisher, a great servant for you last year, won the Peterborough Chase, and then ran a cracking race in the big race at Sandown, just getting nabbed on the line by Froden. What's the plan with him this year?
I think the sooner we try him over 3 miles, the better, possibly. Where and when, I'm not quite sure. He is a good ground horse, so we need to get on. Came in a bit later than some, but he's catching up well now. So I need to get in over 3 miles. I mean, you could, the King George is definitely a possibility.
Would you be looking to try and get a run in before the King George?
Oh, very definitely. Yeah, he'd be ready in 3 weeks' time. So it's just a matter of where.
Okay, Caribbean Boy. I know we don't like to keep reminding you, but you've yet to win a Grand National. Would he be the horse you're looking at that race for this year?
I don't know, because he looks like a horse that would go and gallop and jump round Aintree. He ran in the top of him, and Darrell said he hated it. So I fear he's probably not. And I'm not sure he stays that far either. I think he's probably a 2.5, 2 mile 6 horse. He's funny, when he's good, he is outstanding. His first run at Newbury last year was terrifying. It was so good. And they all kept telling me how fast the time was. I mean, it was ridiculous. And he just bowled on round there and nobody ever saw him. We probably ran him back a bit quick, and then this went wrong, and I don't know, it wasn't very satisfactory, really. But, we've got to manage him rather better, probably, and map it out. But, I went to put him in the Grand Sefton the other day, and there was he didn't like the place last year. I don't think he'll like it now. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. We'd see again. I think stamina might be a bigger doubt than actual fences.
Okay, a horse that carries the same colours as well is FUSIL RAFFLES, who we've already seen actually this season down at Newton Abbot. That would have blown the cobwebs away nicer though, wouldn't it, for his next run?
Well, that really had to be the idea. It's very hard to place these horses off, the higher rated, but not quite top rated horses. It's very hard to find them places to go where they've got realistic chances. He might not be a Group 1 horse, but he's definitely a 2 or 3. Again, the sort of likes of the Peterborough would be good for him, I would think. I mean, last year, when we won it with Mr. Fisher, it was actually run at Cheltenham, not Huntington, which was good of them to move it. But it wouldn't matter whether it was on Huntington or Cheltenham. Fusi's good. I think that's the sort of race he'd be good with.
We haven't seen Angel's Breath for quite some time, but we've seen him on the gallops this morning. He looks a little bit burly, bit of a belly on him. So somehow you've got work cut out trying to get him ready.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the saddest stories and the cruelest, and I just hope we'll get through it. You've got to go back to Ascot the winter before last, when he trotted up in his third run of offences. He was very, very impressive. But he came back in and he had severed 40% of his tendon clean in two. So he'd only got 60% of it left holding him up. It was an horrific injury. They've done some great work. And I mean, you've got to just touch every piece of wood that you could possibly find, because he is so good. The problem, I think, from the vet's point of view, is that the worry is probably not the 40% that was severed, it's the 60%. He almost, he didn't put a foot wrong, except he just had a little dance in front of the third last. And imagine he did it there. And he then galloped home merrily. He felt nothing. But you put an awful lot of pressure when you've only got 60% of a leg to carry you. And the trouble is probably the damage we did to the 60%, not the fact that the 40%, which has healed over very well. so far so good. We're doing nothing but cantering for miles and miles and miles in the sand at the moment, waiting for the grass. I'm not going to do any work on your weather. And so it'll only be when he can get on the grass and it's slow enough will we sort of branch out of there. We've taken this long, there's no point in trying to cut corners now. He could be anything. I mean, I think he is really, really good. And, you know, let's hope, you know, he belongs to Ronnie and Bartlett and Di Walters, and Ronnie deserves a bit of luck. I mean, we've got Dusart, who very nearly didn't make it last year. And then what I think is a very good horse is Allard, who then had a fall at Haydock, which knocked him out for the rest of the season. And he never really came right. And then he had the most horrendous injury in a box while he was away on summer holiday. We thought he wouldn't survive. We're back cantering. We seem to be making progress. He's very, very talented. I think he was 5th in the Supreme. But, I mean, he's better than that even. Yeah, Ronnie he's amazing. He's got very good horses, but luck doesn't always follow them. Simon Sieg was brilliant, but God, he was a fragile horse. So let's hope we need to get Allard and Angel's Breath back on track. It's getting to be. They're both going to be long, long roads back.
Dickie Diver.
Yeah, I'm rather pleased with him at the moment. I've never seen him look so well. He's never been an easy horse to train. Big, lanky devil, never carries a lot of condition. Whereas at the moment, he's had a lot of issues. Just touch wood, they are sort of behind him. If he could get a good run at it, he'd be a good horse. Soft ground, jump fences.
So soft ground Grand National.
Well, maybe. We need one somewhere.
Okay.
You never know.